The Smiling Man. It was a quiet night in the city, and Jack, unable to sleep, decided to take a walk through the empty streets. The neighborhood was usually bustling during the day, but at this hour, it was eerily silent. The only sound was the distant hum of traffic and the occasional rustling of leaves. As he strolled down the dimly lit sidewalk, he noticed something strange ahead. A man stood at the corner under a flickering streetlight. He was dressed in an old-fashioned suit, his hands clasped together, and he was staring straight at Jack. What unsettled Jack wasn't the man's presence, but his face. He wore a grin, an impossibly wide, toothy smile that stretched from ear to ear. Jack slowed his pace, unsure of what to do. The man didn't move, didn't blink, just continued to smile in that disturbing, unnatural way. Trying to shake off the unease, Jack crossed the street to avoid him, but as he did, the man's head turned, following his movements with that unyielding grin. Heart pounding, Jack quickened his pace, glancing over his shoulder every few steps. The man had started walking now, mirroring Jack's movements, his steps slow and deliberate. It wasn't the walk of someone in a hurry, but of someone who knew exactly where they were going and had all the time in the world to get there. Jack's unease turned to fear. He turned down another street, then another, hoping to lose the stranger. But every time he glanced back, the smiling man was there, his pace matching Jack's, that grotesque grin still fixed on his face. Panic set in as Jack turned a corner, breaking into a run. He sprinted down the street, his footsteps echoing off the buildings. When he reached a small park, he ducked behind a large tree, gasping for breath, trying to calm his racing heart. He peered around the trunk, hoping the man had given up. But there he was, standing at the park entrance, his head tilted slightly, eyes searching, the grin wider than ever. He began to whistle, a slow, eerie tune that echoed through the empty park. Jack's mind raced. Why was this happening? Who was this man? Jack's phone vibrated in his pocket. He fumbled it out, hands shaking, and saw a text message from an unknown number, "I see you." His blood ran cold. He glanced back at the man, who raised a hand and waved slowly, the smile never faltering. Jack took off again, sprinting through the park, desperate to get away. He darted down paths, through bushes, around trees, but no matter where he turned, the whistling seemed to follow, growing louder, closer. He burst out of the park onto a deserted street, his legs burning, lungs aching. He looked around frantically, but there was no sign of the smiling man. Relieved but still terrified, he started to walk again, forcing himself to stay calm, to get back to his apartment and lock the door. He turned one last corner, and his heart nearly stopped. The smiling man was standing right in front of him, just a few feet away. Up close, Jack could see that his eyes were wide, unblinking, and that smile, God, that smile was impossibly wide, stretching across his face like a grotesque mask. Jack took a step back, but before he could turn, the man spoke, his voice a low, sing-song whisper. "Why are you running, friend? I just wanted to say hello." Jack's legs gave out, and he stumbled backward, falling to the ground. The man loomed over him, still smiling, his eyes boring into Jack's. "Stay away from me!" Jack screamed, scrambling to his feet. He ran, adrenaline giving him strength, not looking back until he reached the front door of his apartment building. He slammed the door behind him, locking it, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. He raced up the stairs, into his apartment, and locked that door too. Collapsing onto the floor, he tried to steady his breathing. It was over. He was safe. But then, his phone buzzed again. With trembling hands, he picked it up and looked at the screen. Another text from the same unknown number, "I'm still here." He looked up, and his heart froze. Standing outside his window, 5 stories up, was the smiling man, his face pressed against the glass, that terrible grin never wavering. The lights in Jack's apartment flickered and then went out. The last thing he saw before darkness engulfed the room was the man's smile, widening even further, impossibly wide, as he began to tap on the glass.